Roman Catholic, or for that matter, another Habsburg ruling them. But still, Ferdinand became king of Bohemia and tried to stamp out the Protestants within the country. In May of 1618, a group of angry Protestants marched on Radkany Castle in Prague. Ferdinand wasn't there at the time, but they didn't know that. Now, some of the crowd entered the castle, seized three of Ferdinand's officials, and threw them out a castle window. They fell 70 feet into a dung heap. Now, obviously, they all lived, but were just a little smelly. Now, this incident was called the Defenestration of Prague. Defenestration means to throw someone out of a window. Now, it precipitated a revolt that signaled the start of the 30 Years' War. About 2 months after the defenestration, the Bohemian rebels had expelled the Jesuits, deposed Ferdinand, and declared that Frederick, the Protestant ruler of the Palatinate, would be their king. But the emperor sent troops to the region and began ruthlessly crushing all Protestant resistance. Soon the war had spread to other parts of the Holy Roman Empire. Protestantism seemed to be on the verge of collapse. But then Gustavus Adolphus, the king of Spain, rescued the Protestants. With a small band of troops, he landed in northern Germany, recruited additional soldiers, and marched against the emperor. Gustav won several important battles, but then he was killed. Shortly after his death, France entered the war on the side of the Protestants. Go figure. You see, Richelieu knew that if the Holy Roman Emperor solidified his power by subduing all his Protestant opponents, France would be surrounded by two strong Habsburg powers, Spain and the Holy Roman Empire. Not the greatest idea. So to keep the balance of power, France joined the Protestant cause, making it more a political than a religious conflict at the end. After several more years of fighting, the Protestants won, which meant that France won. Now, the peace treaties, collectively known as the Peace of Westphalia, contained two very important points. First, it recognized the independence of the Protestant provinces of the Netherlands and the Swiss Confederacy. And secondly, it recognized more than 300 independent German states and reaffirmed that each prince would determine the religion of his territory. Yep, one of the results of the treaty, the fragmentation of the Holy Roman Empire. Now, this also delayed German unification, which allowed France to emerge as the strongest nation on the continent. Richelieu died in 1642, and King Louis XIII died only 5 months later. Louis's 5-year-old son, Louis XIV, came to the throne. Now understand, Louis XIII and his wife Anne had lost 4 children over 20 years when Louis XIV was finally born. Many thought that he was a gift from God to the world. Now, during Louis XIV's youth, the government was controlled by a new chief minister, Jules Mazarin. He maintained the same philosophy of his predecessor, Richelieu, when it came to absolutism policies. Mazarin imposed new taxes, which caused unrest in 1653. But those riots were really the last serious attempt to limit the power of the king until the French Revolution in 1789. When Mazarin died, Louis XIV decided that he would be his own chief minister. He didn't want anyone influencing his decisions. He told his advisors, the ones he already had, "You will assist me with your counsel when I ask for it." Now, understand, Louis believed in one king, one law, one faith, and all three of those were wrapped up in the person of the king and his power over the state. From that point on, from 1661, Louis dominated European affairs until his death in 1715. which is why historians sometimes call these years the age of Louis XIV. The first thing Louis did when the power was firmly in his own hands, he set about putting French finance in order. Louis appointed Jean-Baptiste Colbert as his Minister of Finance. You see, the French government was on the verge of bankruptcy. Something had to be done. Colbert brought fiscal order to the French economy by tightening government control. He believed in mercantilism, so he favored limiting imports and increasing exports. He also encouraged the construction of a navy to protect French trade abroad. Now, Louis also set out to reorganize the French army so that the troops were loyal to him, not the colonel in their regiment. The lieutenant colonels that Louis placed in charge of the regiments reported directly to him, cutting out the influence that the nobility had over the military. He also required all the troops to wear the same uniform, rather than allowing them to wear the colors of their colonels. His troops became the finest soldiers in 17th century Europe. Now, like I said earlier, Louis believed in one king, one law, and one faith. He wanted to create that same uniformity that he created in the military to religion. So he revoked the Edict of Nantes in 1685. Now, this edict had guaranteed religious toleration of French Protestants. But when Louis revoked the edict, the Huguenots lost any remaining freedom